Okay, good morning. This press conference is to basically update you of the events that occurred yesterday. Yesterday at about 4:30 p.m., Oklahoma City police officers received a call to the area of Southwest 15th and Robinson. The call indicated that there was a man with a gun who was pointing his gun at passing vehicles, and the person that called police said that they heard a loud pop, or at least one pop. Officers were dispatched to the area. The first officer that got to the scene was Officer Brandon Lee. He's got 2 years of service with our police department. He pulled up to 1522 South Robinson, encountered the suspect. The suspect did have a gun. He was holding the gun to his side. He gave several instructions to the suspect to drop his weapon. The suspect refused to drop his weapon and instead came towards the officer, walking aggressively towards the officer. Officer Lee used his vehicle as cover and got behind his vehicle. At that point, the second officer arrived to the scene, Officer Clayton Sargent, who also has 2 years of service. He arrived to the scene. He saw what was going on. He also stood by the side of the second officer, or the first officer, and they continued giving orders for the suspect to drop the weapon. The suspect instead went around the vehicle, towards the back of the vehicle, and directly in front of the officers. At that point, that's when Officer Clayton Sargent discharged his weapon in the direction of the suspect, striking him multiple times. Obviously, EMSA was called to the scene. It was pretty obvious that the suspect received life-threatening injuries, and he was actually transported but deceased at the scene, pronounced deceased at the scene. The suspect in this case has been identified as 24-year-old Devontae L. Johnson. We made identification of this person yesterday. We were pretty confident of who he was, but we didn't confirm until this morning. He does have a history of breaking the law. He was arrested for a robbery a few years back, and I believe he did serve some prison time. So, as it is routine with a case like this, we have to investigate it like a criminal matter. CSI was out there at the scene. Homicide detectives were at the scene yesterday. They processed the entire scene and to collect all evidence, put it together, and then at some point present it to the district attorney's office. Now, in this particular case, only the officer who discharged his weapon is being placed on administrative leave. Both officers are going to have to be interviewed by homicide, and we do have body-worn camera footage of the incident. We hope to release that footage hopefully sometime this week or early next week. Any questions?
Any idea why he was pointing the gun at random cars?
We really don't know. That's the report that police received. When the passerby called 911, they stated that basically a black male gave a clothing description, was at this intersection pointing a gun at vehicles as they were passing by. Obviously, this is a case where life or limb may be in jeopardy, so it's very important that we get police there as quickly as possible. And we did so. It was just a few minutes later that the officers arrived and encountered the suspect. We don't know at this point what his state of mind was. Why he would do something like that, why he would refuse to drop the weapon, why he would aggressively come towards officers and force them to discharge their weapon, or his weapon in this case. So still a lot of questions unanswered, but luckily we do have body-worn camera footage that shows exactly what happened. Any other questions?
You guys found a gun at the scene?
Yes, there was a gun at the scene. The gun is clearly seen in the body-worn camera footage. It was recovered at the scene, and it was a semi-automatic pistol. Any other questions?
From the time the officers arrived on scene and until gun shots were fired, how much time it lasted?
Well, I didn't take note as far as how long it took, but it was seconds. It was probably between 10 and 15 seconds. But the entire time the police officers are giving directions, giving order, stop, drop your weapon, drop your weapon. It was said multiple times by both officers, and the suspect, for whatever reason, did not comply.
And you said the officer, Clayton, will be placed on administrative leave with pay?
Right.
Okay.
You know, right, and it's very important just to point out that this is it's a criminal investigation. It's a very serious criminal investigation because somebody died, and two of our officers are involved. But at this point in time, everything indicates that. I mean, it's on video. And we know what happened. We have the officers who gave us a basic rundown of what occurred, but they still have to be interviewed later on this week. So that's part of the process. Any other questions?
You plan to release any of the video?
Yes, we do plan on releasing the video, hopefully by the end of this week or early next week. Any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.